Hello, welcome to part one of our three-part series to introduce the MarketView API. My name is Sven Schörner. I'm the product manager for all MarketView products at Enverus, and I will be leading you guys through today's presentation. The MarketView API series is planned as a three-part series. So in today's part one, I want to talk about the business benefits that you have from the API and the science that you might recognize in your company that show that you might be benefit from an API. In the second part, we will then show you and talk about the implementation phase. It will show you how you could try out and implement the API from trying it out for the first time and getting familiar with it all the way to the actual implementation. And part three would be a look into the more advanced features of the API, where we are showing you a few more advanced examples on how you can use the API so that you know the full functionality of it. But as I said, today we start easy. We start with a whole business value for the API and the different signs that you might find in your company that indicate that an API would be beneficial for you. There are three areas or three signs that could indicate that data overload. So let's assume you're having lots of places where you need MarketView data, which are actually outside of MarketView Excel tools or outside of MarketView desktop, and you currently have processes where you copy and paste this data, you send this data around, and you just need to bring this MarketView data to a couple of different places. Duplication of efforts. If you do this process currently and you don't use the API, you will most likely do it manually. You have to repeat the manual steps again and again. There's a margin of error there to copy and paste MarketView data from the Excel sheets, for example, into another Excel sheet or send it around, things like that. And third case, if you have multiple systems that require the same data, so you have an ETM system, you have an ERP system, all of them need end-of-day data, for example, from MarketView. Then you would have to repeat the same steps, not just every day. You would need to repeat the same steps for multiple systems. And an API could also make that process easier. Which personas in a trading and risk environment would benefit from an API? I would say everybody along the whole front office to back office stream. So George, the oil trader, if he's running his own model to calculate P&L, he needs prices in that model. And he needs to import these prices on a daily basis, maybe even more often during the day, multiple times during the day. He wants to update this model. Then an API could help him there to just click a button and import it into his model. In the risk management area, risk is usually, most companies usually have an ETM system for that. Mark to market, value at risk, and so on and so forth. For all those let's say outputs, you need prices. You need end of day prices in your ETM system. To get them there, this is a place where the API could help you. In the analysis area, here Choppy, the quantitative analyst, in this example, somebody might run a model in Python or something like that, where he's doing price forecasting, price calculations, any kind of modeling that requires prices as input. There again, an API could just be an interface that pulls the data from MarketView, and there's no manual process involved. And then last but not least, in the back office area, so invoices, confirmations, a daily process where those data has to be, or those documents have to be generated, it has to be sent out. End of day prices are needed there as well on a regular basis, on a daily basis at least. And another place where an API interface could feed that system, whether it's an ETM system or an ERP system, and could bring the data in there quickly from the MarketView database. To summarize, an API increases the operational efficiency in your company. It reduces the margin of error. It makes processes quicker just because of the fact that they're running automatically and they're not done manually. It's reducing the cost of your activity because your employees will spend less time on doing repetitive manual tasks. They will be able to spend their time on what they're actually supposed to do mainly and what they're best in. An API as an automated process will always be faster than a manual process. So you have faster delivery times. You can start your end of day process and finalize your end of day process faster because, yeah, your process will be quick and will be automated. And similar, you have a reduction of the time to market because your data is quicker at this place where it's supposed to be running through an automated process. Last but not least, single source of truth. So if everything comes out of the MarketView data through the same channels, through the same API, and there's no manual process involved in between, then it's guaranteed that the data will be exactly the same at all destination places where the data is needed. Very quick look in how the MarketView API works. So part 2 and part 3 of the series will handle or will go in more detail in this area. So for this first series, it's just one introductory slide. So our API is a web service. A web service means it's using HTTP requests and HTTP responses in the same way as if you are typing in google.com, you're sending an HTTP request and then Google replies with that first search page that you normally see. So that process is also used by our API because it's a web service. What does that mean in detail? The client could be a program that is running the API, like an interface to an ETM system. It triggers an HTTP request, sends it to the web service. The HTTP request defines what data do I want, like me, the client. The web service will then read that request. It will internally on our side request the data from the MarketView database. The MarketView database will return those prices to the web service, and the web service will then translate those prices translate those prices into an HTTP response, which is can have different formats, XML, CSV, HTML, and so on, and then return those prices as part of an HTTP response that then the client can read and interpret and then process. So very simple overview. As I said, in the next series or in the next episodes, we will go a bit more detailed into what that actually means and how the market web service works. So I hope by now we already raised your interest on the API. We encourage you to try it out. In our next episode, we'll also talk a bit about how you can try out the API, how would an implementation process work. However, we have a couple of resources that you could use if you want to try the API and get a first impression. We have a very good and very new documentation, which was just recently redone and is available in a new layout and with new content. It's a roughly 20-page document that covers the whole functionality of the API and everything that I will tell you in these 3 episodes and more. So it starts with the basics, of course, and then it goes deeper into the more expert cases. So but a good place to start with and to have an idea what the API can do. We also have an internal tool, what we call the Query Builder. The Query Builder is a tool that is available on our website. It can be used with an MarketView ID that is permissioned for the API, and it's a tool to play around with the requests and to try out the different HTTP requests and how to feed them with the parameters that you need to specify which data you want, and it will show you what the response look like. So it's kind of a testing and training tool for the API that you can use to understand and test out different requests. If you have questions, I have 2 recommendations for you to people that you can talk to, that you can contact. I'm the person on the left. I introduced myself earlier. I cover MarketView from the product management side. And then on the right side, Jason Pertl, he's my counterpart, you could say, on the development side. So he's heading the market development team. He'll be the guy to go to for more detailed and more technical questions. I think I can cover probably most of the questions, but mostly the basics. But yeah, if you have any questions coming out of this series, please contact us, and we'll try to get back to you with some answers as soon as possible. Main takeaways from this first series or first session. Yeah, if you have issues in your company that you need MarketView data in lots of different places, you need MarketView data out of our normal tools that you have currently subscribed to, Excel tools, desktop. If time is of the essence, if you need these processes needs to happen at a certain time, if you have a lot of manual steps that are currently taking place, then the API is definitely a thing for you to consider, because that will improve all those processes. From a developer standpoint, yeah, the MarketView API is designed to, and we'll cover a bit more the different things that it can do in the next series. It's designed to address all different business user needs in terms of what kind of data you want and what kind of groups of data. But it's also very easy to understand for developers based on the fact that it's a web service and has a very simple to understanding parameters. So yeah, it's not a very complex tool for anybody that has some familiarity with web service. So we hope we raised your interest on this. We encourage you to try out our API. I'm sure the API will be a beneficial tool for you and your organization. And as I said, in part 2, we'll cover a bit more how such a tryout and implementation process could look like, and what steps you would need to take, and what you can do to have a first test run of the API. And this is what we cover in the next session. And I hope I raised your interest in that, and then I hope I will see you again in part 2 of this series.